welcome back. So we look now at section B of the modern text paper, and when you sit that paper, what you will see is two parts on the question paper. This is where you have to look at the cultural segments and references within the text you've studied. So it's called Exploring Cultures, whereas the other half is more about language analysis. This is asking you to place a lot more of your analytical skills and show your understanding of the times in which the book is set and the lessons that we learn ultimately because of the times in which it was written. So you get this in two parts. The first part is pure language analysis and referencing to the book, and then the second part here is where you get all the marks for culture. So if you look at how it's marked, how the mark scheme is actually taken, you've got here you've got 5% of this of your overall mark going for AO1, which is commenting and support. You've got 5% for AO2, which is discussing the writer's craft and choices. And here this is really looking mainly at linking to other parts of the book. And you've got 10% for AO4, which is discussing what events influenced the writer at the time that they were writing or before, and what they are telling us through this book and some of the characters. So that's what we want to look at. So remember, the first part is really about your language analysis, and then the second part is really about cultural references. So try and look at it that way. So if we look then at the actual mark bands for a grade C student, first of all, we've got thoughtful consideration of themes and ideas. Now that's quite strong in A and B. I've added this here. It's not in the mark scheme, it's just so you get to thinking about it. If it's capital A, it's a capital letter, then it means that it's heavily weighted on that bit, and if it's a small one, as we're about to come, then it's a minor weighting, etc. They're important for all of them, and this isn't officially from AQA, the AB edition I've put here, but it's just to get you thinking about how you're going to write differently for different sections. So thoughtful consideration, themes and ideas, you're going to have to do that in both parts. Details linked to interpretation. The interpretation, basically that's really focusing on the meaning. What does this say directly? And that's more relevant in part A than part B. Part B is still important, but part B you're going to be doing it mainly towards the context. So you're going to be taking the idea, seeing it there, and then stretching it further beyond just an interpretation of what you see on the page. You've got to put it into the wider context of what was going on at the time, etc. And I'll be showing that shortly, in the model example of the C grade I'm going to show you in a minute, because this is a band 4 one. So 4.3, appreciation, consideration of the writer's use of language and of form or structure and the effect on the readers. So that's all part skill A, where you're going to be analysing here very heavily. So there's that question there. Consideration, qualified response to context. That's going to be almost solely this section here, B. This is a lot where you're going to get your 10%. And thoughtful selection, consideration of details to support the response to context. So that's very similar to, or this is a development, should I say, of 4.2, but specifically to context, like what we're talking about at the time. So you can see where the A and B rating is. We've got 3 capital A's, 1 small a, 3 capital B's and 1 small b. So it is very even how you actually get the marks, and that actually makes sense because the way I've looked at it that way is because we get 5%, 5%, 10%, and obviously both of these together are worth 30 marks, 15 and 15. So although they're not directly marked 15 out of 15, if you show brilliance in one, then it can kind of weigh over onto the other. So don't think about it in terms of just 15 and 15 marks. The reason they haven't kind of split it into 15 marks is because the exam board is generally going to be on your side. So if you're showing a strength and understanding in one side, it can kind of overlap into your understanding of the second side. But try and write with these two areas in mind, with the kind of more analytical to language and link to the book here, and then analytical to context, and linking to context in the second one. And in the next video we're going to go through a C grade essay. So I guess the last thing I have to show you now is how to plan this part of the essay. So very simply, the main thing that you need to think about for section A is, pick out the most important details, find the evidence and link them to the book. So my question is, how do the details in this passage add to your understanding of George and his relationship with Lenny? So all you have to do to plan is highlight them to yourself, underline them. So I've done them here in green. I'm going to discuss them further in the next one, but that's the main way you actually want to plan for it. So the key things is details in this passage add to my understanding of George and his relationship with Lenny. So I'm looking for things about George and things about his relationship with Lenny. There is actually a lot, obviously, in here that you could say just about Lenny, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking at George, and his relationship. And what you've got to do is pick out the most important details, find the evidence for them, and then link them to the book. And we'll do that to a C grade level, hopefully, in the following video.